and welcome to Coffee Chat. My name is Rrain and my guests today are Meaghan Peters and Brett Cline, who are two of the many people who are putting together this year's major production from NACI. So welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So first thing I want to know, what is major production this year? What are you guys putting on?
Well, it's very exciting. We're doing Disney's Aladdin Jr. this year. Yeah. So that was definitely on my list of ones that I was hoping to get to do. So that's been fun.
How do you choose that?
Generally, it's a conversation with the directors involved every year. Because we've had a bit of a transition with who's directing.
Right.
We had Allison Bailey and Alyssa Alhambra with me last time, and they have now both moved on to other places. Yep. So this year I kind of had to make the decision prior to knowing who the other directors were going to be. And luckily it worked out. Everybody was on board, and yeah.
And I've been wondering this, and I didn't prep you for this question, but what is the difference between Aladdin and Aladdin Jr.?
It's actually a time thing.
Okay.
And I think, are the ranges different as well?
The ranges, there's actually more songs.
Really?
Included, yeah, typically. They'll include more songs, and then they cut it down for when it comes to the junior version.
Yeah, so it's a one-act production intended for younger performers, so there's no intermission.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the songs are maybe more suited then to younger voices.
In some cases, some of the harmonies are pretty advanced, we were saying, as we were rehearsing. We definitely, there was quite a bit of hard work that went into some of that. So I question how difficult it would be with younger than the performers we have, because I mean, we've got high school students that have experience. So.
But if they were, middle school students, it probably would be very challenging then.
Oh yeah, definitely. For the songs.
Yeah.
And we call it major production. I didn't define this right off the top, but major production is what we call our high school musical, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've always called it that in Nipawin. I've never known why. I don't think they call it that anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't really know the history behind why it's called that. It is a major production.
Oh, absolutely.
In the very literal sense. I think, I don't know, it may have to do also with the fact that, we run drama courses at the high school, and it's separate from the drama courses that are run. So, I mean, that may have had something to do with it initially, how that was.
Because certainly the school's been doing them since the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So that actually leads me very, very nicely into the next question, which is, what does it take to put on a production?
Oh, that's
what are your roles, and what is necessary to make this happen?
That's a big question. We have so we have multiple directors who are staff at both NACI, as well as we have one from NMS. So there's myself, Meaghan Peters, directing, and then we have Brett Cline and Colleen Hallett, who is our band teacher currently. And there are musical directors, because that is definitely not my expertise.
That's a big part of the show.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. So I could not be doing it without them. And then we have Sylvie Tomanico and Kelly Spencer as well, who are helping as directors in all sorts of capacities.
Yeah.
And then we were lucky enough to also have Graham Chapman join us for the last 6 weeks or so. And he's been helping significantly with choreography and directing and some of the music end of things as well.
And he is, of course, a veteran of productions here. I think
a
lot of people watching will have seen him in previous productions.
Absolutely, and obviously, and his father was the former drama teacher and choir teacher that would have been putting on major productions. So a long family history of participation in the program. So that's just the directors.
Yeah.
On top of that, we have 30 plus students who are in our actual cast and chorus that will be on stage.
Okay.
We have teams for hair and makeup, sound and lights and tech, set design and backstage crew, front of house, that all have teacher leaders, as well as about 5 to 6 students per team that help in different capacities.
Exactly.
Kind of closer to production.
Because it's not just the people on stage. There is lots of other stuff.
So much behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
That's
And of course
going
there's band involvement with the music and
well, so We no longer do a
The
pit
live,
band.
yeah. Well, not with the Disney ones. I don't think they have pit band. Usually.
You have the option.
Okay.
It's not something like there was, of course, the hiatus with COVID.
Yes.
And when we came back from that, there was a transition to who was directing, and it was kind of our first year back, trying to get it up off the ground. And so we did The Little Mermaid Junior, with Allison Bailey and Alyssa Alhambra. And at that point, we decided to try the canned music.
Yeah.
That's what we say. And I think it would be hard to go back.
Yeah.
To a pit band. We also, the Roxy doesn't permit a lot of space.
There's always been a space problem trying to do that there, for sure.
Yeah, so that's one of the challenges as well, that having the canned music has been helpful with.
And also Roxy has a sound system it didn't always have, so there's that as well.
Yes, and the other piece of it is that I look at who we have on our stage as our very talented, actors and actresses and chorus. And a lot of those kids would maybe be the kids that would also be in the pit band.
Very good point.
So sometimes I question, with the numbers of who we're putting on or what show we're putting on, it would be a bit of a challenge to navigate that. So it's working for us so far. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this a little bit before we went on air here. What is sort of the commitment required for someone to be involved in major production?
It's a huge commitment. Like at least about 6 to 10 hours a week almost every week until, and then once you get up to showtime, you could be up towards 12 hours or more per week.
Yeah.
It's giving up a lot of time, lunch hours, after school, weekends.
Yeah. And that's just really rehearsal time. That's not even everything else that goes into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it's just the rehearsals. It's not the costume fittings or the sound checks or other little things that happen in between there. So, yeah.
And do you have people building sets for this one as well? Or painting sets, maybe?
Yeah, we have a set crew. So, Katie Martin, the art teacher at the high school, as well as Eric Gadet, who does shops or woods, have helped us build and design some pieces. We do use projections, so we don't have to do a full set build.
Okay.
But we do have some pretty key pieces and props that needed to be created. And so they did kind of the major construction and then had a small team of set design kids that helped a little bit with that as well.
That's another way for students to get involved in the production.
Yes.
Even if they're not performing.
Yeah, I love that about it. Actually, there's lots of opportunities for if you want to be involved in the program and you don't want to be on the stage. Yeah. Or maybe like we've had kids that maybe started out in a capacity that was behind the scenes, and then the second time around, a few years later, have decided, oh, maybe I'm going to audition now. Yeah. And so we see that happening too, and it's nice to have that kind of everybody sees how much fun it is, and it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
And do you see some kids getting involved that are maybe looking towards a career in the arts?
For sure. I think there's definitely a handful of students that I'm aware of anyways. Yeah. That's the direction they're looking at going. And so it's, a good experience for them. And
so I was going to ask, what kind of opportunity then does this give them that maybe they wouldn't get otherwise to get involved?
It gives them the experience. Yeah. So even for their resume, if they do want to continue on, it's really nice to have that on their resume.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just another opportunity too. So they're learning some of the skills, the onstage skills, the kind of stagecraft skills, the language, the opportunity to be in front of an audience, a live audience, that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have. Yeah. Yeah.
And do you have any students, probably not this year because, you're still, this is only I think the second production since after COVID, that are maybe wanting to get involved in the leadership end and learning how to direct and learning how to do that sort of thing?
I think, like you said, because it's early days, I haven't run into that yet. We definitely have worked with student choreographers is kind of one little aspect of that, where we've pulled in students who have experience with choreography or are just really talented with that, and have been willing to help out with that. So for sure we did. I know we had last time with Little Mermaid, we had a student choreographer, and this time around we've also Had some student choreographers that have been helping out a bit.
Yeah. So where are you at now in the process of putting this together? Like where did you start and where are you at now and where do we have yet to get?
Well, we purchased the rights to the musical in the fall. We had auditions before Christmas. Students knew coming back from break what role they would have. And then rehearsal started in January. And we're now at the point where this weekend we will have our first opportunity to be in our space at the Roxy with all of our pieces of our set, with all of our crews, and starting to work through tech rehearsals.
Yep.
And then we're really at the tail
it's
end
the 8th,
here.
right?
Yes, May 8th to 10th. Yeah, so we have a dress rehearsal. I think it's the 6th. Sorry, I'm blanking because it's not a public dress rehearsal, but we have a dress rehearsal a few days before. And then, May 8th is opening night at the Roxy.
3 performances or 4 performances?
4.
4.
Yeah, so we have May 8th, 9th, and 10th at 7:30 p.m. And then we have a matinee on the Saturday, so the 10th.
So that's a lot.
It is.
Yeah, it really is a lot. It's
a
lot of blood, sweat, and tears that the kids put in. They really, that's exhausting, like for them.
For sure.
It's also what we worked so hard all year for, though. So it's exciting. Yeah.
And does the working on major production in any way sort of tie into the curriculum for the students, especially those maybe taking art, drama, other things like that?
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely crossovers for sure. Like I teach the drama courses at the high school, and
I teach choir, so
you
can see a little tie there, of course.
Yeah, there's absolutely crossover for sure that we even that, like I said before, the kids. I have students from my drama classes that maybe are not necessarily the ones on stage, but there's crossover from what they've learned in drama class that they're able to apply then at major production in their other capacities, or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
I'm seeing that come through. So, there's definite tie-ins.
And then does major production sort of have any kind of spin-off effect in terms of, maybe younger students getting interested?
For sure. That's something that we're very lucky that in Nipawin we kind of have an existing setup of, HMK has their spring and winter musicals. NMS just finished up their operetta. And we generally try and take a few cast members over and do a visit at HMK and do kind of like a song or two, which always gets the little guys interested.
Did you do like a whole assembly to
we do. We do like a little, so this year it was very short and sweet. I'm hoping next time we do it, we'll be able to do a few more songs and kind of expand a little bit for the HMK crew. We also have the grade 8s from NMS who attend our dress rehearsal.
Okay.
So that's always lovely because those grade 8s are going to be our grade 9s at the high school next year. And so that gives them the opportunity to see, okay, this is what you can be involved in. And
And are you getting a lot of uptake from students in terms of auditioning for the show? And it's like, is casting kind of a real process for you guys to go through?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have many audition, and it's so hard because there's so much talent in Nipawin.
Yes. It really is.
Yeah, like incredible.
And it's because we have that operetta and the musicals at the elementary school, and we have things like that, I think.
Yeah, we do. We just have, and we're lucky. We have a community that's very supportive of our arts and culture scene, I feel like. We have families that are very supportive of arts and culture and celebrating all of those aspects. It's definitely... quite honestly, casting is one of my favorite parts. It really is, because you get to see, I teach at the high school, mostly grade 11s and 12s with a few 10s sprinkled in. So it's a good opportunity for me to see other students.
You see the new talent coming up.
Yeah. And I don't know some of these kids, like they're coming in and I don't have, really an idea of what they're capable of. And then you get to see what they bring to the table, and it's really incredible to just, you often will see someone come audition for a role that is not necessarily the role that they end up with, but you see them come in to do their audition and you think, oh my goodness, they have perfect energy for this role, and maybe they haven't considered that. And then you put them in that role and you see them kind of just blossom and bloom and fully embody that energy and
so rewarding.
It is,
Yes.
and it's really, really cool to just see that progress and growth, and what an accomplishment that is for them, right? So, yeah.
And in terms of doing, like, you're involved with choir, you're involved with theater, do you have a lot of crossover in students, or do you see students coming from sort of both streams into major production?
I see both. So there's some
Yeah.
from choir for sure, but then there's kids I didn't even know could sing in the school, and
Oh,
here
really?
they show up to audition. I'm like, where have you been?
Hey, come here too.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Yeah. Well,
Especially if there's boys, probably, I would imagine.
Of course.
yeah. Well, and I feel like our scheduling at our school, and I think a lot of high schools is set up where, unfortunately, sometimes kids have to choose between arts electives because of the way the schedule is set up. So, but a lot of times kids that are interested, for example, in music or band or choir or visual arts or drama, those are the same kids. There's a lot of crossover, right?
Yeah.
Those kids are often interested in all of those things, but they really are forced to kind of focus on one or the other when it comes to what they're going to put in their schedule.
Right.
And so often this is a good chance to see, you might have a kid who you knew is really talented in choir, but they've never been able to take drama or fine arts or
because they need
Yeah.
their calculus credit or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so this is really cool because you get to see that
Yeah.
other side of students you wouldn't
Yeah.
otherwise see.
And it gives them that opportunity as well if that's something maybe they want to get into in adulthood. I mean, it's not something that stops at the end of high school. This is something that people can do, whether it's a career or not.
Yeah, and exactly. And it's also something, I'm an advocate for the arts, and that's a huge part of my life, but I also believe in balance, and in terms of extracurricular activities and things like that, as far as like a time or a money investment, or needing to have special equipment, it really, you're the equipment, right? So
Right. Yeah.
it's great. Like kids, it's something
You don't need
that
hockey skates.
yeah, yeah, it's feasible and affordable, and it's something that anybody can be involved in, right?
Yeah.
So, and like you said, lifelong. It's
Yeah.
not something that ends.
And certainly with all the opportunities out there for kids to kind of film themselves and doing stuff.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
There's good and there's bad to that, but
yeah,
it's certainly something that they can perform in other capacities.
yeah, and some of them are more comfortable, right, because of access to social media or access to whatever content creation and things like that. Some of them are definitely more comfortable with certain aspects of that. But the other part of that is that that's still not a live audience. So sometimes you'll find kids that are very comfortable in that regard, but are really having to figure out
when
how to
there's
do
no
that.
ring light, it's very different.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Yeah, for sure.
Do you have kids then coming in, not just like from the performing arts stream, but like wanting to do some of the business of doing major production, coming into the back end with those kind of skills rather than
Well, like I said, we have teams that do the, front of house, so things like helping with ticket sales and advertising.
Yeah.
We have teams that work with sound.
our future marketers, our future,
and are very like personable, and and then we have students that are really good and want to help with hair and makeup. We have students that help with the kind of sound, lights, projection end of things too, and so those are skills that are very applicable in
and
other
always in
areas.
demand.
Yes, absolutely. So for sure, there's all kinds of involvement in that way as well.
Yeah. And with sort of the number of students this requires, with the number of hours it requires, the number of staff commitment, I would have to imagine the school is very supportive of putting on the production.
Oh, for sure. There's, it's kind of a whole building commitment in some regards. But yes, absolutely. And I mean, students do earn extracurricular hours for the time that they spend, just like they would with other extracurricular involvement. So yeah, that is definitely part of it for sure. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about specifically this year's production. What are some of the unique things about it, maybe unique challenges to doing this show?
The music was a challenge. We actually weren't expecting it to be that complicated. There's at least 4-part harmonies, if not more sometimes. And for high schoolers, that can be a challenge. So it's exciting when we pull it off, but getting there sometimes it's a challenge. But it is fun once you get there. Like, oh wow, this is what we've been working for.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that we challenged ourselves a little bit in coming up with some choreo that was maybe a little bit more challenging than we had done previously, which partly is kind of to some degree demanded by the production we chose to do. But in other aspects was just something that I felt like fit well with the music, right? And so that's been an additional challenge that they've really risen to. They really have worked really hard and come a long way with that. And then kind of some of the other little things that are maybe not specific to this production, but to using the Roxy space, right? So we don't have wings, which is, the entrances and exits on the side of the stage. We just have the two entrance and exits at the back, which is always an interesting...
if you want to build wings, you reduce the size of the stage.
So you're always kind of working around those parameters. We're very lucky that we get to use the Roxy and have that space to perform in. And so there's little challenges that come with that. There's a magic carpet, obviously. So there's technical challenges.
So
we don't have rigging and things like that. The mechanics, the back wall of our theater is very much, it is a screen, it is our movie theater, and it doesn't go anywhere. It is there at all times, right? So unlike other theaters that may have just a curtain and you can pull things forward and such. So we have to get creative with those things, and I hope that what we've done is gonna work well, and I know it's so far so good. So yeah.
And I guess the two productions that you have done are both Disney productions.
Yes.
Have you done anything elsewhere where you could compare how it's like working with like the logistics of getting a Disney production versus something else?
Sort of, yes. I also run the drama camp in the summer with some other educators as well. That's at Arts Forward. So that's a different ballgame because we use different materials for that.
I just know with Disney there's rights issues always.
Disney is yes. They're very particular. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody.
No.
So there's a lot of things that you have to agree to, and there's a lot of rules you have to follow, which is fine. That's fine. But it is a lot to kind of keep in mind as you're doing things. You are always checking back to make sure, okay, are we able to do this? Is this something that they're okay with?
Yeah. Do they have any, because I know, you get the rights to do it, whatever you have to pay. I'm not going to ask about that. But, so what kind of things, do they, I know, I don't think you can change lyrics and stuff, right?
No.
Whereas in other productions, there's a little more freedom.
You cannot make any changes.
Yeah. Is there any performance-based stuff that you're restricted on?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely there's advertising things. The way you advertise, the way the program is written, the posters, all has to be done to their specifications.
Okay.
In terms of casting, they have certain rules about who can be cast for what, and I want to be careful with how I'm wording that. But there are certain characters that you can kind of cast that would be gender neutral. You can cast anybody for, but they do have certain characters that they say you have to stay within what the assigned.
They kind of have parameters for it.
Yes,
and that's just, I think, maybe a public image thing for Disney.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. So that's kind of the big ones. Really, it's basically you're not making any changes to their. Recording is another thing that they're very, very strict about. So
which we are certainly aware of here.
Yes, absolutely right. So in the past, we have purchased the rights to record. We didn't do that this year.
Yeah.
So we're just. You're going to have to be there in person to see it, right? There will not be a recorded version.
Yeah.
So
So that's certainly different than getting something and doing something which is not a musical, but like Hamlet, where you can do whatever you want with it.
Yes, and there's a lot more room for...
Which I'd love to see you do, by the way.
Expression.
Putting a bug in your ear.
I teach it in my English class. There's some differences for sure.
Are you... now, May production happens every 2 years. And the last one you did was in the winter, like you did one before Christmas. This time it's the more traditional spring production. How are you finding the differences between those?
Amazing. It's very unusual to have done it in the winter. When we did it, The Little Mermaid, we had very specific reasons for why we had to do it that time around in that way, on that schedule. Yeah. We said when we did it that we probably wouldn't do that again for a lot of different reasons. It's just, if you think about the time we've spent on it this year versus we had September to pretty much the end of November to pull that off last time, it was a little crazy. So there's a reason that the traditional schedule is to have it come out in the spring, and I don't anticipate that we'll be changing that. I will never say never. There's definitely some Christmas ones that are on, or holiday seasonal ones that are on my list that would really only make sense to ever do them.
You could do
in the
minor
winter.
production and a major production.
One could. Yeah.
So are you sort of thinking about, the next production? Are you already sort of getting some thoughts about getting some ideas who's going to be in grade 12, 11, 12 that year? What they might,
I think I would be lying if I didn't say I always have a running tab of this is what we're going to do next time, or this is how we'll do something different next time, or this is who might be interested next time. This will be who my team is next time. And then, somebody just asked me the other day, well, what do you think you will do next? And I said, well, I have no idea, but I do always have a running list.
There's a list,
a wish list in the back of my head that would be, fun to do.
Yeah.
And it kind of matters year to year who we have involved as well, and in terms of cast and directors. So
so any last thoughts about this year's production?
I think just encouraging everybody to get out there and come see. The kids have worked so hard. May 8th to 10th. We have 4 shows. Tickets are available only online.
Okay, so where do people find them? Yes, it is.
Which I think everybody is going to take some time getting used to. We've had positive feedback so far about that. So there are posters up around town. There is an ad in the paper currently. Yep. There's a QR code. So if you're familiar with QR codes, you scan that with your phone or camera, and it brings up a little link you can click on. There is also a website. So that is on both the posters and the advertisement right now. And
if there are seats available, just to be very clear, if there are seats available, can people get them at the door?
I think there's a little window of time where they'll be available at the door, but it will still be done online at the door.
Okay.
So we will have hopefully the accommodation that if there's an issue, we can make that work. But it's not going to be like a cash paper ticket exchange.
So what we're saying is get your tickets now. That's what we're saying right now.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, come see us.
And I imagine a lot of people probably already have gotten tickets for the shows.
Yes, sales are happening. I think getting the news out there that there will not be an in-person ticket event, because that is traditionally what has happened, is important, because that's I think some people are still waiting for that.
Yeah. Maybe we can help you out with that. Will it be announced on bingo so people know?
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not to say in the future there won't be the opportunity. This was kind of a trial year to see how this would work. So we may have to go to a hybrid system in the future. Okay. But this year you're going to have to do the online situation. Yeah.
Well, that is fantastic. Thank you both for joining me here today.
Thank you for having us.
Best of luck to you. Break a leg to everyone who's on stage.
Oh, thank you.
And thank everyone who has joined us here on the show today on Coffee Chat. Please get your tickets now for Disney's Aladdin Jr.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.